Hello everyone. Welcome to this video. Welcome to my channel. My name is Brenda Campbell and I'm an artist and a certified Zentangle teacher. Today is Mindful Monday, regardless of what day you're watching this. And the whole point of Mindful Monday is just to take some time for yourself to pause from all of your worries and hustle and bustle of daily life and get some calm and some zen and just kind of relax just for a brief moment. So hopefully you're thinking about drawing along with me, and I use very basic tangles and I try to talk you through drawing them step by step. So in any case, welcome again, and we're going to go right ahead and begin with the 8 steps of the Zentangle Method. Step 1 is gratitude and appreciation. Now in this step, I'm just going to talk you through a short breathing exercise. I'd like you to just kind of sit up straight, and as we inhale, get tall and alert. And as we exhale, just kind of drop your shoulders and let everything relax down. So let's begin with one big inhale, getting tall, and exhale and just relax. One more inhale. And exhale. One final inhale, reaching up taller and taller. And exhale, letting all of your breath release completely. Now just let your breath fall into its natural rhythm and pay attention to it. As it inhale, pay attention to it as you inhale and exhale. Try not to direct the breath, just follow it. Continue to relax. As thoughts roll by, as they will, simply acknowledge them and let them pass and refocus back to your breath. Now take a moment and think about something that makes you smile. And as you think about it, pay attention to how it makes you feel. This is the feeling of gratitude. So hold on to that feeling, and as we draw today, bring that into our practice. And if you reach a point where you're just not sure what you're doing, what's next, or your line's a little wobblier than you want it to be, just pause yourself. Take a big inhale and exhale. And then go back again. You'll feel much better. Well, let's end with one final big breath in getting tall. And exhale, relaxing your cheeks, dropping your shoulders. And that is all there is to step 1. Okay, now before we move on, I just want to talk for a brief moment about what materials and tools we're using. And I want to remind you, there are no mistakes. So if you're drawing along, don't be afraid. If you make a mistake, it's not a mistake. It's an opportunity. Or if you really don't like it, you can always cover it up. So no mistakes, no fear, and no expectations. Allow yourself to be surprised today to find what we have at the end. I'm going to be drawing on an original 3.5-inch square Zentangle tile. And I'm going to be drawing with a Micron PN pen. PN for plastic nib, so it is a little bit more sturdy than some of the other nibs. So I use it, I have a heavy hand. Plus I like a bolder line, and the PN does give me a little thicker, bolder line. Then I'm going to be using a pencil and a tortillon. And a tortillon is just tightly rolled up strip of paper that comes to a point. You can buy them at art supply stores or online. You can get them from Zentangle.com. That's where I get mine. So step 2 requires our pencils. So step 2 is putting a dot in each corner of our square tile. So I'm going to put a dot, and you can put yours anywhere. It can be close to the corner, far away. It's completely up to you. Step 3 is to draw a border by connecting those dots. Now, step 4 is the string, and the string is typically done in pencil, and we use it to create spaces, different spaces on our tile to draw our tangles. But today I am going to use a tangle as our string, and it's going to allow us some spaces for several tangles, which is going to be fun. And I'm going to go with some really simple basic tangles today. So we're going to our pen now. And I'm going to begin by drawing an orb or circle in the center. And I'm going to make mine, I don't know, maybe about 3/4 of an inch diameter. I'm just eyeballing that, so I don't really know if that's correct. But that's about the size of mine. And then I'm going to draw an aura around this circle. And this can be as large or small as you like. But I'm going to draw some smaller orbs inside this aura border around my initial circle. And they're not going to overlap. They're just touching each other. And I'm just going to fill in the space, turning my tile as I go. When I'm drawing a row of orbs or circles, I find that if I start my adjacent orb with my pen in the center of the one next to it, I tend to get a more consistent orb, and it's a little easier for me to keep the shape. I don't know what works best for you, but I just like to share the tips for the things that I find helpful. All right, so there is my beginning orb with a string of orbs around it. And this is going to be the beginning of our pattern spoken, which is what we're using to break up the spaces. Now, spoken is like a wheel. spokes coming off of the center, thus the tangle's name. And I want to do 5 sections. So I'm trying to align these spokes, if you will, like I imagine a 5-pointed star as I do this. So I'm going to go ahead with my first one, and it's going to come from the side down to the corner, and then I'm going to draw an aura, and that's our first spoke. And then I'm going to come somewhere in the center of the side with my second spoke. Then I'm going to kind of come to the center of the top, just like a 5-pointed star. My third. And one more. So we have 5 spaces for tangles, and they're not all the same size, and that's perfectly fine. So I'm going to go ahead. Now we've drawn our spoken. We're finished with our first tangle, which also happens to be our string. So now we're moving on to step 5, technically, and we're going to begin with a very simple pattern that I usually teach in my introduction class. So this pattern is called crescent moon, and you can pick any of the shapes inside our spoken to start with. I'm going to start with this one, and you'll notice I'm going to using my string line also as part of the perimeter of this tangle space. I'll do it like this. And I'm going around the perimeter, and I'm drawing like a half circle. Okay, now we are going to fill these in with solid black. And I'm using small circular motions with my pen, and I'm not putting very much pressure on the pen, and that allows the ink to just kind of flow right out of the nib. I'm also turning my tile so that any lines I am trying to avoid going outside of are at the top where I can see them best. Now I'm right-handed, so you might have to use a different view if you want yours to be the same. In other words, make sure that you can see the line that you're using as your border or edge of your tangle. And that way you won't accidentally go outside that line. And I'm turning it this way so I can see this edge a little better. Okay, now it's boring to watch me fill these in with black, so I'm going to go ahead and finish these up, and I'm going to suggest that you pause the video if you're drawing along. Take all the time you need to fill your little crescent moons or half moon shapes with solid black ink. And don't rush. This is a very zen activity too. It's part of the whole process. Go ahead and take your time. And then when you're finished, you can come back, unpause the video, and we'll be ready to go. So pause the video now. I'm finished now with filling all my crescent moon shapes in with solid black. And the next step in this tangle is to draw an aura around each one of these. And then you can draw another aura around each of these. Now there's not a lot of room in here, so I am going to kind of draw a aura around the negative space. And I can leave it at that, so I think I will. If you have enough room, you can draw multiple rows of auras around each one of these half moon shapes. And then what I like to do for my beginners is to just simply aura the space inside when it becomes too small to aura each one. There's no more room. So that's what I've done here. I've just drawn mine really large. So there you have our first tangle, or second if you count our string of spoken. And this is Crescent Moon. Next, we're going to draw an organic tangle, and this is one of my early favorites. It has kind of a leafy shape. I'm going to draw mine coming up from around the borders here of the edges of this space, and pick any space, doesn't matter which one you pick. So I've got my little leafy type shape, and I'm going to draw another one over here. And you see I'm drawing behind when I reach one line that's kind of in the way. I guess I'll come back over here now. Now I'm just drawing these kind of around the string lines, if you will. And you can do that without really any issue. But you can also just add little sprouts that come out. And I think that's probably enough of these shapes for this space here. And so the next step is to do a little bit of decorating inside each one. Now, in order for me to try to get the shape, I kind of use this center line to follow the shape of my little leafy shapes. Some of them curl over more than others. This one's going to be kind of straight, but then this one's going to curl over a little. And just that curve helps to give it some dimension. And if you have room at the end of these lines, you can place a dot or two, depending on how much room you have. And this is Flux. I don't know if I mentioned that yet, but Flux is the name of this organic tangle that was one of my very first favorites. So the next one we're going to do is we're going to do another organic one, which you've seen me do lots of times, and that is tipple. Now, tipple is just orbs or circles. You can make them different sizes, different shapes. Doesn't matter what space you put these in. Just pick one and work with it. I like to do some like they're going outside of my little string space. And I'm starting by just randomly putting lots of orbs next to each other. And now I'll start drawing some behind. I have all different sizes in here. Lots of them that are just next to each other. And I think a few that are behind or in front. And I think that's going to be enough of my orbs for my tipple pattern. So we've got crescent moon, flux, and tipple so far, in addition to our string of spoken. Now, the next one I'm going to do is one you've seen me do lots of times. And I'm going to use the smallest space I have for it because it also has a lot of solid black, which will take us a little bit of time. So this is a grid tangle. And I kind of drew my grid lines along with a curve along the section they're in. This one curves against this spoke, and then these lines curve against this spoke down here. And as you know, every other square is going to get filled in with solid black. And then the tip, or the trick, to making certain that you always get the right square and you don't put a black one against a black one, is that the one you just finished is going to touch the next one at the corner, and that would be right here. Those two corners meet right there. And if you're drawing along, you can go ahead, pause the video, take your time filling in your black spaces. When you're finished, come back and unpause, and then we'll move on to the next tangle. So go ahead and pause your video now. Okay, I'm back again, and I've finished with my Knight's Bridge. I don't know what I said that was. So we now have 4 or 5. We've got our spoken for our string. We've got crescent moon. We've got flux. We've got tipple. And we've got Knight's Bridge. And our last pattern is going to be another organic one and also another drama one. And it is fescue. Now fescue is just a line that comes up and has this little cap on the end of it. And then you fill in that cap with solid black, and that's where you get your drama from with this particular tangle. So there's my first one. And then I'm going to draw another one, and this one's going to come behind up here. So when I do that, it's just a solid line. So I'm putting a break there on either side, and that gives it the illusion that it is going behind this first one that I drew. Okay, and then we'll draw a couple more. You can go in either direction. I kind of like to mix it up sometimes. And because I like odd numbers, I'm going to draw 5 in this space that I have. So there are our 6 patterns, and we're finished drawing our tangles, and we're moving on to step 6, which is the shading. And I'm going to begin, strangely enough, with my pen. I always think about when I go back and add like some solid black, or some people call it adding some love, when you add some line weight or filling in blank spaces with solid black, anything like that. I think of that more when I think about the shading part than I do about the drawing part. But it doesn't really matter how you think about it or when you do it. But I'm going back to our orbs that go around our original or big center orb shape, and I'm filling the spaces in between them with solid black. And that's just gonna, I think, give it a little bit more drama, and it'll look, I think it's gonna look kind of cool when we're finally all finished. Okay, so I think good. And all I did there was I had some bumps coming around these orbs into the center. There's some over here too. And I just kind of drew the line over it to smooth it out so that the center orb looks more round. Okay, now I'm done with my pen for now, and I'm going to pick up my pencil, and we're going to continue with our shading. And I'm going to go ahead and begin with crescent moon, since that's what I started with. Now, there's not a whole lot we can do with this one, but I like to go around the perimeter. This is a really easy way to shade crescent moon. And I'm putting a little graphite just on that perimeter line. And you'll see I'm avoiding the black, because when you add graphite to the solid black, it actually gets lighter, not darker. So I have a little line of graphite all the way around the perimeter here. And I am just going to blend that out, trying to keep it off of the black. Okay, so that is how I'm shading our crescent moon section. Now I'm going to pick my pencil back up, and we're going to shade flux. Now flux is kind of fun to shade too, and easy. I'm just putting a little graphite along the line where they're growing from. So this cluster comes from there, and then we've got that there. Okay, so I think that's enough graphite. And what I'm going to do, I like to do this upside down so I can see the edge, is I'm going to kind of blend that out just along the line first. Okay. Oops, this one too. Let's do this. And now I might want to come and kind of bring that up that center line we drew a little bit. Not necessarily too much, but just a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to pick my pencil back up and just put the lightest line of graphite here where they overlap and here where they overlap. And then I'll blend that out into the leaf that it's overlapping. Okay, and finally, with what I have left on my tortillon, I'm just going to kind of put a little bit of graphite on these top ones that sit next to an empty space. And that is flux. That's all we need to do to shade flux. Okay, so next we drew tipple. Tipple, as you know, is also super simple to shade. I am going to shade the perimeter because apparently we've done that with all of these tangles so far, so why not? So we'll start with that. Then I will take some of these larger orbs and kind of like put my little smile, my smile in the corner. And then also where they're overlap. There's quite a bit of overlap here. So I don't want to get it too dark. I'm not going to do all of them. That's probably plenty of graphite here. So let's go ahead and blend this out. A little bit in from the perimeter. Now I'm not pressing very hard with my tortillon because I don't want to tear up the paper, which happens sometimes if you press too hard. And a lot of these that are behind are just going to be kind of dark because there's not a lot of space to get fancier than that with the shading. So, but I think it works. And that is all there is to shading our tipple today. So our next thing to shade is our Knightsbridge. My goodness, I have a fly in here. It's making me crazy. I'm sorry. So again, with the perimeter, and remember, we don't put black on top of the black. We don't put graphite on top of the black because it just makes it lighter. So I'm not putting a lot of graphite here. It's very lightly applied. Also, these squares are not terribly large, so I don't want to blend it too far or it'll just be all dark. Okay, I think that's good for shading our Knightsbridge. So just shading around the perimeter is a good place to get that done here. Now, fescue is the last one we have. I'm going to add a little bit of graphite just to the side where they're growing out from to kind of ground it in there. And now I want to come up here and I'm going to do like a little circle. There's that fly again. Under each, more of an oval, I guess. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to blend this out to kind of mimic the shape of the little cap. And I will come with a line to connect at some point to the stem, if you will, of our fescue. Now this is a pretty dramatic way to shade this particular tangle, and so you don't have to feel like you have to do that every time, but I do like to do it occasionally. So that's all there is to shading our fescue. Now we actually have one last tangle to shade, and that is our spoken. And because I did this as an orb with a bunch of orbs around it, we are going to go ahead and kind of shade this like it's a round pearl kind of a deal. Now the exterior orbs, the ring around there, I think I'm going to have enough graphite left on my tortillon. So we're going to start with this and see if we need to add more. We will. Now, these are more large circular motions because this is a pretty good size circle. And I'm kind of leaving a little lighter ring around the edge. And then I kind of blended all around that that smile area. Now I'm going to just lightly go around the perimeter up on the opposite side. And that will leave a lighter space here. And so that's how you kind of get a pearl shaped shadow, I guess. Now I'm gonna, with the graphite on my tortillon, I'm just kind of quickly doing a smile in the corner, going around each one. Doesn't really look much like a smile, but it does put a little graphite down. And I think that's good enough. Okay, the other thing we want to do is we want to add some graphite here to our spokes. And I'm going to have it pretty heavy where they meet the center, like they're coming up from underneath, and this sits a little higher on top. And I think that's it. So, oh, no, there's one more here. Okay, now I'm going to pull this down as far as I can. So each spoke is going to be dark in the center and lighter as it comes out, but it will still be a little darker from this solid section here or outside. If that made any sense, I hope it did. Got a lot of solid black, and as I use my tortillon, sometimes you can see it tearing up a little bit. So gently, gently. Okay, now is there anything that needs any more extra loving? Now, just for fun, I think I am going to add a little bit more graphite here to the bottom smile. I'm not sure why, I'm just feeling like doing it. And then that makes that bottom corner a little bit darker. So you get a little bit more depth, I guess. And that's good enough. So there we have our 6 tangles, spoken as our string, crescent moon, flux, tipple, knight's bridge, and fescue. These are all very simple beginner tangles, and so you can kind of think of this as a bit of a tangle sampler, if you will. Now we're finished with step 6, and we're moving on to step 7, and we are going to pick our pen back up for step 7, and we are going to put our initials on the front of our tile. My initials, I'm going to use my chop. I'm going to kind of put it here in this corner and tuck it behind my flux. Okay, and then I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to sign it. I'm going to date mine, but off camera. And I'm going to list all the tangles that we used. I'm going to start with our string, which was spoken. Then we did crescent moon. Then we did flux. And then we did tipple. And then we did Knightsbridge. And our final tangle was fescue. So there you have it. We've done step 7 to initial and sign. And step 8 is simply to sit back and appreciate what you've done. Appreciate the beautiful tile you have. If you like your tile or not, you still took time for yourself today, which is also something to appreciate. So thank you for hanging out with me today. Thank you for drawing along if you did. And I'd love to see your work. So if you do post it, just put some hashtags in there for me, Angel Whispers Art, and I will find it. And hopefully I can give you a little bit of love on your work. So I love having you all here. Thanks again for joining me. And remember, as always, to be you and be happy.